You are a professor of psychology, and you started almost 30 years ago with a psychological model called COM Profiles. And could you tell me what was the motivation to start to invent a new model? And so what was the main the root cause where you said, okay, let's go for this?
Yeah. I'm professor of psychology and professor of management at the same time. So, because I did the two studies, you know, and the two tracks. And from psychology, you know, I got the idea of understanding the way people behave and relate to each other. And from the management side, I had in mind the notion of effectiveness. So how to make a psychological approach effective in, you know, let's say about leadership and about interpersonal communication. That was my line. And when you do advanced studies in psychology, okay, there are plenty of fascinating things, and you can get interested in many things. You can take a lot of knowledge, but at the same time, the knowledge is rarely specific. It's very general, and okay, it was obvious for me that. Okay, we human beings, we don't function in the same way or in the same way. So, and some people are motivated by some needs or some values, and other people are motivated by other needs and values. So it was obvious, and I think it's obvious for everyone. So it was necessary to go in a way to find a way to be to go deeper and to be more subtle, you know, when it was about a specific person, you know. So, and some people had work on that, you know, imagining, you know, profiling methods or models with psychological typologies and things like that. So I got interested in that. I learned a lot from other people, and from there I said, okay, that's the direction, you know, I want to follow, and I think it was in me. It had been in me for ages, and I was curious of that. I always have been somebody not very talkative and observing other people. So that's my way. Now I am much more talkative because
I just wanted to say.
Yeah, much more talkative. Sometimes too much, too talkative. But I spend my life observing people, and I was a teenager. I was like that. I was observing okay. So it was a curiosity for me to have the means to understand people in general. I think everybody wants to do that, but okay, such and such person in a very specific way. I had this curiosity.
What is funny, because in fact you said you started at the beginning of the 90s. Mm-hmm. At this time I just wrote my PhD about motivation and how Arbeitszufriedenheit. So
pour être management pour être heureux.
Job satisfaction.
Job satisfaction.
And so if I understand it right, so understanding what is motivating people in their way they're acting is also a fundament of your model. So what is bringing people to get energy out of what and for what reason?
Yeah, that's a key question.
That's the key. What is motivating people?
What is motivating people? And it became obvious. Okay, I took more time than you, for instance, because I started by a PhD in management. And so I was going towards teaching management and finally I've been in between management and psychology all my life. And so I took some time to really about psychology to have a definite direction. Yeah? And but the question of motivation is a key question. What motivates people? And what makes people, what creates a well-being with people, and what gives energy to people. And I after studying also, studying papers, books, text, and other methods, it became obvious that the starting point are the psychological needs, and that what we exchange in the communication is we exchange energy, but this energy comes from the satisfaction of the needs.
Motivation starts with needs.
Yes, yeah. Motivation starts with needs.
So in fact, the fundamentals of your model are let's say four fundamental needs people have.
Yes.
What are they?
And let's say it's four families of needs. And because we can gather, the immense diversity of the psychological needs in four big families. One is a family of affection, but not only affection, also, let's say, belonging, to have a close contact with other people, to have a proximity with other people, to be understood by other people, to reassure. To be reassured about what could happen, and a need of harmony in the relationship. So I could go further than that, but already to give an idea. Second need, and it is very interesting because when you go about the psychology, the first child, period of development, you can see the needs appear in the development of the child. So and the second family is a family of attention, listening, availability, the need to play, the need of being freedom, and to do things at your own rhythm, to the need to let's say to take distance and to look things in a bigger frame. And so on and so on. So also the need to be encouraged and to have interest for things, to do things. The third family of needs is the need of get confirmation from from other people that what I know is what it is. And so to have the confirmation of what I already know, or of knowledge and other things, that I am doing things in the right way. I am an okay person in a way. So need of framework, procedure, need to have answers about my questions, and need to also to get the knowledge and the know-how of things, and things like that. The fourth family is the need of esteem, the need of acknowledgement of my value, my result, my importance, in a context or in a group. The need to be, let's say, to be different from the other ones. And the need to win in a competition, because in this there is a need to differentiate and to be better at the same time, or to be excellent, or things like that. So this four family of needs, of course, become predominant. They don't eliminate the other needs with a person, but for each person, one family of need is a priority. And being a priority, of course, it models the behaviors of the people, or the behavioral preferences of the people. you develop more behaviors or more interpersonal mechanism or devices, you know, to nurture the needs which are predominant with you. That's one point. And another point is what happens to us when we are under stress. What happens when we are under stress, and we know that stress is, let's say, the result of perception of a deficit of emotional resources in ourselves. So the satisfaction of psychological needs are really especially important. So under stress, we have inner mechanisms which are, taking us in the register of communication corresponding to the needs which are predominant for us. So when we have a priority in a family of needs, so that's our behavioral preferences correspond to this priority needs. And at the same time, when we go under stress and we lose the command of our behaviors, when you go into survival, we have a very, very strong tendency to go in the register of communication which correspond to the needs which are a priority for us. So that's becoming, and we can take examples, very simple examples. You know, for instance, let's take a piece of example, very quick. Let's take somebody for whom the priority needs are esteem, acknowledgement of the value, acknowledgement of their importance, being different from other people, getting respect, and for instance, we stop here. So this person for whom esteem, acknowledgement of their values, their results, their importance, and respect are so important. If we visualize a person like that, and we see this person when this person is under stress and goes into survival, that means loses the command of his or her behaviors, how this person is going to be inclined to behave. It's obvious for everyone because we observe that in so many thousand times, you know. So we know the person is going to be aggressive,
dominant,
to be angry, to put people down, to be higher than the other one, and to point out the people as responsible of the problems or the issue, if there is any, and so on and so on. So we could multiply the examples, you know, like that, and we know that we already are able to go from some predominant needs and to anticipate and foresee the behaviors which are in correspondence with these needs. That means inside of ourselves, it is a little bit like we have all our life incorporated programs, which enable us to decode the reality, what we see, and at the same time enable us to anticipate on the way people are going to behave if we are a little bit aware of the predominant needs.
True. In fact, what is interesting when we are looking on, the concept of needs is a fundamental concept, how people are sharing their life and getting energy. I think the interesting point is also how there is, and of course, in all situations, you are doing things which are feeding your needs. You try to be in balance, in fact, and to have enough energy, which is helping you to be in balance. The funny thing, or the tragic thing, is that sometimes the language you are using out of your, let's say, family profile of needs can sometimes be dysfunctional and not helping you to satisfy your needs.
Yeah.
And that's a funny thing, because you see a behavior and this behavior is there, and the guy wants a need to be satisfied, and in fact he's doing all to not getting it satisfied. Yeah, that's tragic. That's in fact
pathetic in a way.
Yeah, it's tragic that you see people that are showing behaviors which are, let's say, counterproductive to what they really want.
Exactly. But in a way, we have to be tolerant about that because we do the same. Each one of us, we do
Everyone,
the same.
yeah, that's.
We see people doing that, but we do the same. And so, when does that happen? It happens when we are under stress and we have this deficit of resources, of emotional energy. And there is this correcting behaviors which are governed by the fear not to have the satisfaction of our needs, which are, generating behaviors which are stronger than us and which are inappropriate, but which are there to steal energy from the other people or to nurture our needs at the expense of the other people. Of course, it is not appropriate because we are, stealing resources from the other people. So the other people are not going to be inclined to give us resources. So when we are in
survival, stealing or expecting the others to give you something.
Yes,
yeah.
yes. No. So it is when we are under stress and we go into survival, we have the impression that we are going to get energy from the other people by stealing energy from them. But in fact, of course, the exchange doesn't stop there, and the cost of this, acting as a thief of energy is going to be enormous. And finally, we have the expression to get, a strong amount of energy on the spot, but right after, we are losing so much by the cost of degraded relationships or things like that, that finally we are in survival, and the more we are in survival, the more we stay in survival.
In fact, it's like a non-swimmer in water.
Yes, he's doing a lot, and he starts drinking.
Yeah, and he's not doing the right things.
He's not doing the right things. In sport, it is obvious. We do it in ski. We force, and finally we don't do the right move, and we are exhausted after 3 bumps.
So, in fact, understanding there are 4 fundamental needs, family,
4 fundamental needs,
which are driving the motivation of people,
yeah.
And we have a disconnect sometimes between, especially when people are under stress, between the language they're using and the behavior they're showing, and what they really need.
Yeah, it is the expression of the needs is not appropriate. But it is the same with emotions, you know. We have we can speak about the fundamental emotions. For instance, fear, anger, sadness, or joy. They are very functional. Each one of these emotions are very functional for each of us, but we can use them or express them in a non-appropriate way.
It's a little bit like jealousy. Huh? So you love someone, you are jealous, and with expressing your jealousy, you're not getting the love. Yes. Typically, you're getting the opposite.
And sometimes, it's exact. And sometimes we are angry at something because our values are not respected, and it is you get a lot of energy from that, from anger. And to reestablish, to the respect of values. But if we do it in excess, we are going to have a destructive kind of expression of anger, and finally we are not going to establish anything.
So, in fact, if I'm just taking the example of jealousy, people are learning with the concept of COM profiles. They're learning to understand what is a fundamental need, like love, for example, love for the other, and what languages they might use in some situation which are inappropriate and which may even be more destructive in the relation than helpful for yourself. And you're also understanding to identify languages from others and what is the need behind.
Yeah.
And with this, understanding your needs and your language and the need and the language of others is a starting point
of the exchange.
Yeah.
And it is true in private life, it is true in professional life. also.
Yeah, we all have plenty of examples where you have a dysfunctional communication and relationship, which are destroying a lot of performance inside of teams and companies.
But we can see it in a positive way also. Because if you use such an approach, which is an approach of finally the goal is to improve the interpersonal relationship and to improve also the let's say the leadership skills. That means how to motivate people, how to make them feel well and enthusiastic about what they do.
Creating performance out of that.
To create performance. It is we can use it in positive way. When we use it in a positive way, most of the time, we are centered on the other one and on the need of the other one. And so that's the fundamentals of being in growth and to be agile in our relationship.
I totally agree. So if you really want to create a relation to the other, you have to be centered on the other.
Yeah. Exactly.
Thank you, Robert.
Yeah, thank you.